black body swinging in the southern breeze.
It is reported that if you asked anyone who knew Ahmaud Arbery, you knew he loved to run, rain or shine. But somehow on a sunny Sunday in a coastal community in Georgia, Ahmaud's run became a deadly chase. It was 1 p.m. on February 23rd, 2020. According to police reports, Ahmaud is seen in a gated community jogging. His presence immediately triggered the call to 911. So according to the police reports, Gregory McMichael is standing in his yard when he sees what he thinks is a suspect in recent neighborhood robberies, or as he liked to call it, hauling ass down the street. McMichael, according to the police reports, say that the two men got into their truck and began to follow Ahmaud. Using their vehicle, the two tried to cut Ahmaud off, and each time he ran around the truck. However, they got ahead of Ahmaud. This is when the confrontation begins. The worlds of Ahmaud and the suspects collide. We must warn you, the next video that you're about to see is very graphic. Now, more than 2 months later, on May 7th, 2020, the two men have finally been charged with murder and the aggravated assault of Ahmaud Arbery. We at OUTPour LGBTQ Productions, we care about social justice and pop culture. And that's why we're having this roundtable discussion to hear our thoughts on Ahmaud Arbery. I am Tony Purnell, and I welcome you. What are your thoughts? The first time you saw the video, the very first time you saw it, what did you think?
It took me days to watch it, honestly. I just couldn't bring myself to see it. I couldn't bring myself to see it again. It was just to see, not that particular video, but seeing so many videos surfacing with unarmed black men being assassinated at the arms, law enforcement or white people. So it took me days to watch it before I could get myself there to watch it, and it's now that I'm seeing it, it's kind of crazy because I had to desensitize myself to get myself to watch it. Mm-hmm. And that's the sad part, is that we begin to desensitize ourselves to black men being assassinated.
Yeah. Who else? Your thoughts on the initial video?
When I watched it, my stomach cringed at watching him run down the street and actually try to avoid the guy standing there, and then to hear see the gunshots hit his stomach, and then him try to still help himself after he got shot and then fall on the ground. That was cringing to watch. I had to rewatch it over to just be no, I didn't just see what I just saw. I want to rewatch it again and examine every little part of the video, and it was really mind blowing that was one even caught on footage, and that actually happened, and nobody heard or seen anything about it in 2 months.
Was anybody in shock?
I was in shock because for me, I immediately thought of myself in that same situation. Mm-hmm. If I'm jogging, minding my business, and these rednecks cut me off in the street, mm-hmm. I'm going to have anxiety. I'm going to have fear, trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And then to know that I'm trapped on both sides. I'm trapped in front of me. Yeah. I'm trapped behind me. So, because the person recording the video was also a part of the crime.
So you think that person's equally responsible?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's alleged. I mean, we don't.
Alleged.
No, it is. He leaked it. His name was Brian Williams. He leaked the video because he thought it would recuse his friends in a self-defense alibi.
Well, let's stay on that for a second. When we talk about the gut feeling of me seeing this footage.
When I saw the footage, I was angry at myself because I wasn't sensitive towards it.
You were not?
I was not. Because we've seen it so long, generationally. We've seen black men and black lives. Clearly doesn't matter in America, and it never has. It did remind me of Trayvon Martin.
Yes.
It had a lot of similarities to that.
Most comparable.
That's how I began to remember. I was automatically going back to that situation.
And it brings trauma because if you've had family members who have been murdered by law enforcement or former law enforcement, it brings triggers with that as well. And, again, it's just the anger now comes in, okay? Simply because you know that in 2020, even in a health crisis, black lives are not met, doesn't matter, period. And so not only are we dealing with the virus that we have to fight and protect ourselves, we have to protect ourselves from white racists who feel that they have the right to police black bodies.
Well, I'm glad you brought up that point because if I'm not mistaken, in Georgia law, they have this thing where they can police their own community.
Well, they can make a citizen's arrest if you see the individual or the suspect engaging in that type of criminal activity. This, a brother Ahmaud was simply jogging, and there was no criminal activity engaged.
So is this what we have come down to? Jogging while black? That's another thing we have to worry about now?
Absolutely.
I mean, clearly.
You just got to worry about anything being black.
Existing while black.
Existing while black.
Right.
But to just go to the citizen's arrest, like he was saying, you must witness the crime.
Okay.
It is not, I think he's the one who did it. You have had to have witnessed the crime.
But the way the citizen's arrest is set up is the one theory they like to use is smoking gun theory. So let's say I saw you shoot him. Now I saw you shoot him. I saw the bullet leave your gun. Now I can try to detain you. If you resist me, I now can apply the self-defense rule and shoot you.
Right.
So they are trying to create this convoluted narrative as why they were able to shoot him. So they implemented citizen's arrest and then killed him based on self-defense.
Wait, before we get there, when we listen to the recordings of even the call to 911, the guy said, I think this looks like somebody who committed these robberies. You wasn't even sure.
Not even sure.
You weren't even confident.
So citizen's arrest goes out the window.
So in that point about the citizen's arrest, it is null and void. It is invalid.
The narrative have changed. This is the third narrative of what actually happened.
Correct.
The first report was to the family was that your son was involved in criminal activity and it led to him being shot. Then it was he was looking into the window, and that's when they pursued him. Okay. Then we're on this third narrative of self-defense, citizen's arrest. So we're on the third. And mind you, this took place in February.
Right.
If it wasn't for the outcry, and we generationally had to stand for ourselves to get any type of justice or any type of visibility that our lives matter. This happened in February. And only because of the outcry, only because of the protest, only because of the perception of violence from racist white people thinking that we're going to go and shut shit down, which normally we can do. This was the pressure. And then it was a political year. So you got Joe Biden going in, you got the Republican governor running for office, all these individuals, Democrat and Republicans, everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. We care about black lives.
Well, let's
but this happened in February.
1 second. When you say this is a political year, so let's talk about social media for a second. We all understand the power of social media. Do you think if there was not a presence of social media, somebody capturing the video, would this have been as big as it is now?
No. If there was no video, first of all, one of the things that I thought
We never would have known.
No.
You wouldn't have known. It wouldn't have been as big, and you wouldn't have
The
known.
part that's so irritating about the whole thing is that white people have so much privilege that they get stupid when they try to implement that privilege. So for example, you shoot this video, you take it in an effort to record this thing that you plan to do. Then you leak it thinking it's going to avenge or recuse your friends who committed the crime.
Because I'm thinking I'm doing
Not
something
really.
good.
I'm
doing something good.
I feel like I'm doing something good. That's sick and that's twisted.
I want before you go there, Trey, I want to hear Cesare. Thank you. I want to hear about your opinion about the media coverage surrounding it.
It's kind of something that tends to always happen. We get results once the media pressure tends to rise up. But to piggyback off of a question you asked earlier, I wasn't shocked that this happened.
Was not shocked.
I wasn't shocked. Because what we have to understand is that unfortunately in America, our skin is a sin. Our skin is looked at as a threat. Is looked at, when people see our skin, we're looked at individuals who are angry, who are violent, who are a threat to the white society. So this wasn't, to me, it wasn't a shock. It was just like, damn, again.
But I have personal issue with that. I am not shocked because is this a normalcy thing now? Has it become normalized in our community for us to be hunted? Why aren't we shocked anymore? Why is it like, okay, it happened? Why is that the case?
I want to believe that the shock happens because your expectation is set. So you're not shocked because I know as a black man, even in corporate America, even as a leader at work, if I need to bring an employee into the office and I need to counsel you on something, on an issue, I already know that I possess the 3 B's when I come in, when I walk into the room. I'm big, I'm black, and I'm bold. So when I'm talking to this white employee, I have to consciously think, lower my tone. Don't seem aggressive. Because this white employee that works for me can turn around and go to HR and create a case that how they felt uncomfortable, which then shakes my check. It's going to shake my world up. So the expectation is set. We have to understand that this country foundation is racism.
Tell me about any experiences that you have had with law enforcement.
I can say I've had quite a few run-ins with law enforcement. As somebody, you know, when I was younger, trying to figure out life and take care of myself and things like that, I've been, you know, pulled over for suspended license, fictitious plates, fake insurance, all kinds of stuff. In the South, in rural areas, by white cops, most of the time, who probably were racist, but I got off the hook. And I don't know, and I think that kind of in the beginning of this, a lot of the shootings of black men by cops, I was insensitive to it because I was like, well, they must have did something. They must have said something wrong because I've had crazy run-ins with the cops and should have been arrested, should have had my car towed on numerous occasions and always got off the hook. And I think maybe because I code switched in the moment, or maybe because I didn't have a prior record, I just got a lot of breaks, I don't know. But it created an insensitivity to where I thought that these people had to do something wrong. Then it wasn't until, and that was my experience, but it wasn't until
your experience,
the umpteenth time, I'm like, okay, now wait a minute. Now this can't be.
What about someone else's experience with law enforcement, negative or positive?
I
can definitely piggyback off of your experience. Definitely as an urban gentleman, 26 years old, living in an urban community. So I served 2 years in jail, and I would say my experiences even in jail or even like being pulled over, I remember my one experience. And I used to have dreads about 6 years ago, and I remember having dreads. People always thought I was hood, rugged. It was just like impromptu of what the normal, of what the media portray us, of what we're supposed to look like. So with that being said, when I was getting pulled over one time by a police officer, and of course I have dreads, and I was driving a BMW, and of course they automatically assume he's selling drugs. Of course I do.
So you saying you were profiled?
I believe I was, and I would never forget that when the officer asked me, "Oh, hey, can I see your driver's license?" and I went to go reach, and he said, "Stop," and then he immediately opened my door, and he took me by the left arm, and he pulled me out the vehicle. Instantaneously, I thought to myself, like, well, what is going on? What is happening?
Too often in America, these are supposed to be the people who are representing to protect us, but they're doing the exact opposite.
Well, police are trained. Well, first of all, I want to say fuck the police.
Yeah, because
that's number one. Fuck them.
We all know they all.
Yeah, fuck the police. But I've been an activist since I was 13 years old in my community. Long before I joined the Black Lives Matter movement, you know. The issue with policing, police were never formed to protect black bodies. They started out and their names were slave patrols. Their job was to protect property and regain property and bring property back, and we were considered property. So the protect and serve never applied to us. And this is why the spirit of police violence against black and brown bodies, supported by a system, that's why we say no good cop in a racist system. because I can't be.
Wait, repeat that.
I say
Nice
no
and loud.
good cop in a racist system, and a lot of people misinterpret that. I have cops who are family members of mine who I love very, very much, and I know that their hearts are in the right place. But you're fighting against a generational system that is designed to do exactly what the hell it's supposed to do, and that is to oppress black and brown people, period.
That's good.
And so you're fighting against the grain at this point. You're in quicksand. But anybody who's had any type of experience and lived through those experiences without being paralyzed or murdered by the police is a blessing.
Well, let's go on the opposite side for 1 second. Let's go on the opposite side for those police officers and those law enforcement. What if I am a black officer in a black community, and you're still looking at me in disdain and disgust?
Well, we're looking
Let me hear from you, Chester.
Well, I can speak on that because I'm somebody who's black, gay, and who's a police officer.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Oh wow.
Yeah, everybody, surprise. I'm somebody who is, like, again, I said, I'm black, I'm gay, and I police an urban community which I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. And before I became a police officer, I myself was an activist and still is an activist presently. I was a part of Black Lives Matter Newark. I marched up and down the streets for against police brutality and for criminal justice reform. I advocated for the Civilian Review Board in the city of Newark, which is being fought in the courts by my police department and my FOP. I will say this. I understand why people say fuck the police.
So what's the bottom line?
Because I used to say fuck the police.
Until you became in position of police officer.
But I became a police officer because I wanted to change the system. A system that we all know is broken, a system that we know was designed to oppress my people, and I wanted law enforcement to be implemented in my community for what it was supposed to be there for, and that's to protect and serve the community. When I was in the police academy, we were always trained to stop the threat. Now, everybody has their own interpretation on what stop the threat is.
But where does that go? I want to hear.
Because I just wanted to touch real quick. I heard broken system.
Yes.
The system is not broken. It's doing exactly what the fuck it's supposed to do.
For
white people and against black people. That's what I'm saying. I just want to clear it up because when we're all black, we can have this conversation. We're family. We can have this conversation. But listen, it's important for us to be able to have these conversations. This is how we start healing and strengthening ourselves. It's not attacking one person because they chose one profession. But the system is not broken. It's doing exactly what the fuck it was supposed to do from generation to generation. It's the Matrix, basically. And that's the design to hurt and kill black people, black and brown bodies. Secondly, I just want to say this. Also, I admire, like I said, I have family members who are police officers. Anytime I hear a police officer shot, because I have them in several cities, my heart drops because I know their heart. I know why they wanted to go and protect their neighborhoods. A lot of them come from that neighborhood. Or certain neighborhoods, North Philadelphia, Southwest Philadelphia, Westville, 52nd Street, Hoop Street. A lot of the police officers in our family come from those areas, and they want to do good. And I believe that this brother wants to do good as well. But we have to call a thing a thing. The police will never, ever respect black bodies, and they will never, ever advocate for justice for black and brown people, period.
Breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar tree.